The purpose is not only to share and discuss, and you have these sessions like the ones today, but actually for you to now focus on, in the next 48 hours, developing your action plan using the template and the rubric that we've shared with you. I'm going to share those two documents again, just in case there's someone here who does not yet have those, has not yet reviewed those. You have very little time left, so I would urge you to get to it, developing your action plan. That is the main deliverable in the course, together with peer review. Everything else is just a warm-up. Now, there is a session 2 report, and I'm sure Charlotte will share the actual links in the chat within a few seconds. And so, similar to the session 1 report, also mandatory, that means required for certification, and really appreciated the feedback on session 1. Here you can tell us more. Yesterday you had to discover, make sense of a methodology for most of you, and figure out how it works. Today you were able to hopefully enjoy the discussion without having understood how the process works. So we look forward to your feedback and your insights. Now, for rapporteurs, we're going to ask you once again to submit your group's discussion notes. We understand that it has been incremental, so in many cases, what you submit will be a more complete version of what you submitted yesterday. Some groups may have completely new things, and of course the same links apply. So you can check, if you're not a rapporteur, so you can check that your rapporteur has submitted the latest version. Again, that's another requirement. Now, it needs to be clear in the rapporteur notes who was active. So if someone just sat in the room and said nothing and contributed nothing, you should not include their name, or you can include their name and say inactive, so we know in case the person says, no, but I was in group X. And then we're shifting gears with the rest of the course. This was the first stage of the course. Everything else from now on happens, the jargon term we use is asynchronously, which means you get to choose when you do the work. You do not get to choose the deadlines. There are no extensions because we need everyone working in sync. That means working together at the same time for peer review. And if you think about the work that you did as a group in 1.5 hours, in 90 minutes, so in 3 times 30-minute sessions, that should help you scope out what you'll need to do for your action plan. Now, one of the requirements will be, and you will find this in the rubric, the requirement for specificity. So I did see a lot of generalities, a lot of very generic observations that could apply almost anywhere to any surveillance context. What we'll be looking for in your plans is really specific stuff where we know you're talking about your situation. It could not be somewhere else, and you know what you're talking about. So Charlotte Mbou in the coming days is going to be your new best friend because she has offered to do peer support sessions, and you can see the times for these on Wednesday and Thursday. And then starting on Thursday at midnight, Geneva time, you'll be working on peer review. So Charlotte will be explaining peer review on Thursday, along with the submission process. And then the next mandatory session is on Tuesday, the 19th of July. And there we'll have a full hour for the presentations of your plans, of your VPD surveillance action plans. So not the group work, but your individual plans. And just to once again review the urgency of starting your action plan. So you can see here that your task is to join a platform called PeerGrade. There's very simple instructions, as you can see. There are 3 steps. You go to a link, you use the code, and then step 3 depends on whether you have already used PeerGrade or not. Again, if you don't manage to figure this out by yourself, join the peer support session tomorrow. This is the most important part of the certification requirement for the course. You've been working in small groups. Now we're done, except for the peer support sessions with the group work. And so you are now working on your very own action plan. You've been practicing everything that will go into your action plan. You've been practicing for 2 days now with the group. You've been learning from each other, but this is individual work. It needs to be your work and no one else's, of course. And this is the goal of the course, is that you leave with a quality action plan that you can actually use in your work. If you manage to do that, if we manage to support you in doing that, then we will have done our job. Now, what is the VPD action plan about? This is going to sound very familiar. You identify your most important or a priority challenge with VPD surveillance where you work. You explain your context, and guess what? That context includes workforce, laboratory, information systems, applied research, sustainable financing. Now, this is about action, but you need to know what you're aiming for. So the specific goal you'd like to achieve related to the challenge identified, that's the core of the action plan. And then the action steps are where you actually map out what are you going to do, and how, and with whom. And then the calendar, again, you have today, the rest of the day today, and Wednesday to develop your action plan. Thursday you submit. Now, I believe you have until midnight Geneva time. So be careful. The platform will automatically close at midnight Geneva time. So if you're not in Geneva, figure out what time it is in your location, because we always get a few messages from people who did not check that. And they say, oh, well, I thought it was midnight Nigeria time. It's not. It's midnight Geneva time. And it is your responsibility to figure out what time that is in your context. Now, on Thursday, when you submit your action plan, you are not done. And I'm going to ask Charlotte why peer review is actually the most important part of this course. And why, if you don't do peer review, or if others do not finish their 3 peer reviews, you may not be able to finish the course. Charlotte, can you explain to us what that is about?
Okay, thank you so much, Reda. Just to say, this is a peer learning exercise, meaning that we depend on each other to move forward in the course. So peer review is very important because you will get to go through the action plans of 3 peers. You will give them constructive feedback that will help them to improve upon their action plans using the rubric for guidance. That is why the rubric is there. It is to help you to develop the action plan, but also to help you peer review the action plans of others. And your peers will depend on you to revise their action plan. So you risk not going ahead in the course if you don't receive constructive feedback from peers. So even as they depend on you, you also depend on them to move forward. And remember, this is also a certification requirement. So if you don't complete peer review, you will not be certified for the course. Thank you, Reda.
Thanks, Charlotte. And let me be explicit about what that means, is that even if you do everything you are supposed to, but your colleagues do not, so you will have 3 participants assigned to peer review your action plan. If they do not peer review your action plan, you will be stuck. You may not be able to finish the course if you do not receive your 3 peer reviews, because you need the 3 peer reviews in order to revise your plan. So you are going to be dependent on each other, and this can be very uncomfortable. Imagine your surprise, your dismay, your disappointment. If you have done everything, you have reviewed the works of 3 of your colleagues, you have finished, submitted your plan on time, and then on Friday, at right after the Thursday midnight deadline, you go in eager to see your peer reviews from your colleagues, and you find one colleague who said, I'm sorry, I didn't have time, I was too busy. Another one who said, well, I got sick. And a third one who says, well, my computer broke or my computer was stolen. In that case, you would end up with no feedback from your colleagues. And that can be terrible, terribly dismaying. And you are dependent on others, and they are dependent on you. That will be the process of peer review. If you want to understand this better, and make sure you do not find yourself in this situation. Like I say, even if you do everything right, you can still find yourself in a very uncomfortable situation, and your completion of the course may be compromised unless every one of us makes the commitment to support your colleagues, to support colleagues in the course by finishing the peer reviews. But first, step 1 is actually finishing your own plan. by Thursday. I hope that is clear. Now, for the remainder of the time, we will... and I'm sorry if you find that is not fair, but that is what peer learning in its purest form actually means. This is not intended to be rude. We hope that that colleagues will support each other. And that is really the challenge that you face, where just like in a lot of public health work, you are dependent on others and they are dependent on you. That is what will be the case in this course. So that's the Thursday deadline. Now, for the remainder of the time, we are going to go back to the breakout rooms. And this time, again, you have the option, we'll go for 30 minutes. You can choose your room. So if you want to discuss further or work further with your group, you're allowed to do that. Of course, the formal session time is over. So if you need to leave, you may do so as well. And of course, we will have, do not forget the session 2 report. Do not forget, if you're rapporteur, to submit your report, and do not forget that you have an action plan to finish. So I think we owe each other a round of applause as we set out on this action plan. It's your individual action plan, but you're going to be dependent on others, and they are going to be dependent on you. So that is what we'll do for the remainder of this course. Thank you very much. Now opening the rooms for those of you who want to go back to the breakout rooms. Take care.